Is it possible to get great fried chicken from scratch when you're using an air fryer?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to show you how to use EverCrisp and Battered to make great air-fried chicken. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. Now here on WTF, every week we talk about unique ingredients and techniques and show you how you can do these recipes in your own kitchen. So remember, subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll get notified when we come out with something cool next week. Alright, and this week we are going to tackle a commonly asked question, which is if you own an air fryer, how do you, or can you, make really great, fresh, fried chicken from scratch in an air fryer? So Scott's going to talk about what exactly is an air fryer, what's the technology behind it, and then of course the process that we went through in order to test the fried chicken, because we love fried chicken here, so that was no hardship. I think, Scott, let's start with maybe I'm one of the few people on the planet who probably does not own an air fryer, and I don't have a great understanding of what exactly it is. So can you talk about when you're using an air fryer, what exactly is happening?
So basically what's happening is there's really superheated air that is being flowed across the top and bottom of whatever it is you're trying to cook in there. Okay. It's similar to a fryer, which is the food is surrounded by oil. This is surrounded by extremely hot air. Where you get the difference is that you don't have the oil, so you don't have that reaction of making things extremely crisp. So you have to do that in different ways. But can you make good fried chicken in an air fryer? Yes, you can, and you don't have to use a three-step breading process. You can use a traditional method. Mm-hmm. We figured it out, and we were able to make really good fried chicken. Yeah,
and I'm really interested in seeing how this is done, because when we think about frying, we think about the oil, and to just say okay, I'm going to pull some chicken out of the refrigerator and put it in there. How exactly does that work? What are you doing to make that happen?
So I used a few different kind of tricks to make it work. You do have to add some oil, but the benefit of an air fryer is not having to add a ton of oil. Mm-hmm. You're not saturating it too much in oil. You're just going to brush oil lightly on the outside of the chicken, so that way when it's hit by that hot air, it can crisp up and still get those same textures of fried chicken. Okay. But two ingredients that we had, if we wanted to look at our frying ingredients, see how we could utilize them in the air fryer. Okay. Right? So the big one is going to be batter bind, and what that's going to do is going to bind the batter to the outside of the chicken. So you don't want to, when you go to lift it off of here, it's not going to fall apart, and you're not going to be left with a shell of fried crispiness and then a piece of chicken. Right. So that's one thing that we have in here. And that's just basically a dredge. So we take our chicken out of the wet, we put it into the batter bind, we dip it back into the wet to make sure that batter bind is hydrated, and then we put it into our dry
Okay, and what is the brine? What's in the brine right now?
So this is basically our fried chicken recipe that we have on the site already. This is just kind of updated for the air fryer. So It is a buttermilk and a bunch of different spices. So that way that the buttermilk has enzymes in it that actually tenderize the chicken a little bit. And one thing that people have an issue with an air fryer is that if you're going to be using it, generally the outside will cook while the inside is not. Okay. So that comes down to figuring out the time and the temperature of what you're going to do in here. And we found that around 390 for 11 minutes, it'll tell you to flip halfway through, because that's what ours does. If yours doesn't, just try and flip it and make sure that nothing's, sticking to the basket or the plate, whatever you're doing in here. Mm-hmm. So it's really just, if you're using this method, follow that. But if you're doing something bigger or whatnot, you're going to have to tinker around with it a little bit. Okay. And then one thing we also did is, instead of adding, usually we would add a little bit of our brine to our dry mix here. Mm-hmm. We actually added a little bit of canola oil to make those crispy bits. So the oil is already on the inside of the breading, and then a little bit on the outside to really kind of intensify that crispiness. Mm-hmm. And EverCrisp. EverCrisp is a frying agent that you replace 20% of the flour in whatever batter or breading. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it replaces that gluten that's in there, and it allows it to be crispier for longer. So we want to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that the air fryer fried chicken is great.
Okay. And is there any type of resting period, or you can just kind of go directly from your breading and battering directly into the air fryer?
Good question. So I do want to make sure that this hydrates a little bit. Okay. If I put it in directly from that, the dry breading, it's going to be dry on the outside because it hasn't had time for any of the oil to saturate it or any of the liquid from the brine to saturate it. Mm-hmm. So you're going to end up with like an extremely kind of mealy outside. So I allow it to sit in my refrigerator. I bread it, sit in the refrigerator for an hour, and then I hit it with a little bit of oil and pass it right into the air fryer.
Okay, cool. And if you do want all these steps in detail, they will be in the links in the description below. We'll get this full recipe. We originally made it like last year. Was it when all the fast food places were fighting over their chicken sandwiches?
This is our fourth fried chicken recipe. So yeah, we've definitely made it when the chicken sandwich craze, and then we also made a Nashville hot chicken, and we made a fried chicken way back when, about 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, but if you do love your air fryer and you have been craving fried chicken, follow the steps in this recipe to make sure that it's going to come out perfect every time.
Yeah, so it's really simple. So obviously, if you're going to be doing fried chicken, I would suggest wearing gloves, but you want to go wet, dry, wet, dry. That's just a really common chef tip. So I'm going to take it out of the out of the brine, and I put it right into the batter bind. And then with my dry hand, I kind of sprinkle some over the top. And you don't want to coat this to the point where it's a big cake. Mm-hmm. So you just get some on there and then tap it off if you want. You can do it on the side. Just enough so it gets in all these kind of crevices. Mm-hmm. You can see it already starting to hydrate really well. But I'm just going to pass it right in.
If you're wondering what batter bind is, there is an entire episode about our different frying agents. So we're going to link to that as well in the description if you want to check that out. It goes into a lot more detail about batter bind, about EverCrisp, and how to use them.
Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to, you can do a double dip, which is basically I would take this back into the brine and then back into the breading, but I don't find it necessary, especially with the air fryer. You don't want to put too much on the outside. And if you're going to be using the air fryer, I would suggest using chicken thighs or chicken legs or anything that has a longer cook time, because chicken breast will dry out really quickly. So you can see this is already kind of starting to hydrate a little bit. But one thing we would do from here, let me just pop these gloves off, is we can lay it out onto the sheets that are in here. You can put it onto a sheet tray at home, pop it into the refrigerator, and once it really kind of hydrates, then we just take a little bit of oil and we just brush the outside quickly.
All right, and you may have already mentioned this, but how would I know that this is fully hydrated or sufficiently hydrated?
It just won't look dry on the outside. Okay. So when it's not dry on the outside, you're good to go. Mm-hmm. So if it looks like kind of like it's almost battered, mm-hmm. and that's actually another question we can talk about. Is like, can you make battered ingredients or battered recipes in an air fryer? Mm-hmm. And we tried to find a few different ways with batter bind and whatnot, but we found that as it heated up, it wasn't fast enough to seal the outside. Okay. So if you were going to make a battered ingredient, you would have to flash fry it really quick, and then you could freeze it and pass it into the air fryer. But you can't take like a battered ingredient, put it onto there, because it drips through, makes an absolute mess, and it doesn't come out like you want it. So.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to another question, which is, is brining a necessary step? Because I know that you want to make sure it has the moisture and everything, but can you skip it, or is it kind of required if you want to do an air fryer?
You don't have to brine.
Okay.
I suggest you brine because there's salt in here. The salt will penetrate through, give you better flavor. There's also seasonings. The seasonings will adhere to the outside, give you better flavor that way. Mm-hmm. And also the enzymes from like buttermilk or yogurt or whatever you're using is going to help tenderize that meat. Okay. So we would put it in there. We do 11 minutes through the magic of television. Mm-hmm. We have some that are finished.
Ooh, and I love how crispy that looks, and it's got all the little brown nooks and crannies that we love. Yeah,
that's what we wanted. We wanted to be as reminiscent as possible of a fried chicken. And you can see that I put it onto a baking sheet, a piece of parchment paper onto the sheet in here. So that piece of parchment paper will kind of hold on to a little bit of that oil. If you're looking to not add so much oil, you absolutely can. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're really looking to go very low fat, you absolutely can. Mm-hmm. Just add a little bit less oil. It's all up to taste. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to not put down the parchment paper, just know that maybe you can, these are usually non-stick, but they do kind of fall through and it'll like crisp up to the sheet a little bit. So just be sure, you may have to scrape it off and you don't want to ruin one of these.
Right.
Cool. So then we have a really great sandwich, and then we have quick ingredient that we made was actually suggested by a viewer, which is black garlic ketchup, and I'm just going to put it right on top of this sandwich.
Oh, there's no way that's not going to taste good now. You just drowned it in black garlic.
I didn't drown it. I enhanced it. Okay, Janie. So yeah, that's it. We made some really great air fryer fried chicken.
All right.
And if you want to eat that whole sandwich in one bite, you absolutely can. Do it for the viewers.
Do it for the viewers. Well, I kind of just wanted to just kind of try to show that it's still crispy, and I'm trying to get around. Maybe we can rip apart that piece while I'm eating this one, just to show that it is still crispy. And of course, we fried this before we started, so it's been sitting here for a while.
Put it close to the mic.
All right.
I heard it.
Yep, you can hear me crunching away. It is good. I'll eat this one too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple to make the fried chicken as long as you follow these steps. If you don't want to brush on oil, you absolutely could spritz it with, I wouldn't suggest pan spray. I would definitely just get your own little oil spritzer that you can put onto the outside to get nice even coating, but it's up to you and whatever you have.
The black garlic is so good. Oh my God.
I would hope so.
All right, so that about wraps it up for us here. We did go through a fair amount of R&D in order to get a chicken sandwich that we are happy with, the ability to make it in the air fryer. It's pretty tasty, so if you love your air fryer, use the recipe, fry up some other stuff, tell us how it goes. And, I totally forgot about the giveaway.
Well, let's do it now.
All right, so if you want to win a 1 pound bag of EverCrisp, you can leave in the comments below something that you love to fry, to batter and bread and fry. And we love hearing from you, so enter to win, and we'll pick a winner in 2 weeks. So from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Garrett.
Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell so you get notified when we drop a new video.
To get today's recipes and all of our recipes, remember to go to blog.modernistpantry.com, where you get recipes, ask a chefs, tips and tricks, and more.
And if you haven't already, tell a friend so they know what's going on here at WTF.
And as always, to get any of the ingredients you saw today, you can go to modernistpantry.com to shop.
And until next time, we'll be here in the test kitchen helping you create memorable and magical experiences.